Hello students, today we will start a new chapter of class 12, that is molecular basis of inheritance. In the previous chapter, that is principles of inheritance and variation, we have come to know that how the characteristics are transmitted from the parents to the offsprings. Today in this class we are going to read about what is the basis of that transmission. See, we have come to know that the characters are actually associated with that of the genes, isn't it? And this gene is the one which is transmitted or inherited from one generation to another generation. So one should know what is this gene actually. See, gene is a segment of the chromosome which is responsible for the appearance of any character in an organism. So that is what is known as the gene. It is a hereditary unit. Genes are located in the chromosome. So genes are the part of the chromosome. Now to know the genes, we have to know what this chromosome is made up of. Now the chromosomes are made up of chromatin threads, isn't it? These chromatin threads undergo condensation to form that rod shaped structure which we call it as your chromosome, and there are number of genes in a chromosome. Now this genetic material which is associated with that of the chromosome, that is what is called as your nucleic acids. So there are basically two types of nucleic acid associated with that of the chromosomes. This nucleic acids, in case of your the organisms like that of your virus, the nucleic acid is your RNA, and in case of the eukaryotic organisms like that of your even the prokaryotic organisms like that of your bacteria, the genetic material is the nucleic acid is that of your DNA. Now DNA is what? Deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA is ribonucleic acid. Now what is the fundamental difference between this DNA and the RNA? One should first know about it. Since it is telling deoxyribonucleic acid, so there is a less of oxygen. Less of oxygen where? The sugar with which the DNA is made up of. Okay, before we go into the sugar, we must know that the DNA is made up of the repeated units of nucleotides. Okay, now again we should know what is a nucleotide. Perhaps in your junior class, when you were in class 9, that time when you were studying about nucleus chromosomes, that very class you have also come to know that the DNA is made up of the repeating units called nucleotides. Nucleotides in turn is made up of three things. Now what are these three things with which this nucleotide is made up of? One is your sugar. Now this sugar is a 5-carbon sugar, so that is why it is called a pentose sugar. In case of DNA, it is deoxyribose sugar, and in case of RNA, it is a ribose sugar, but both of them are 5-carbon sugars. Okay, along with that they have nitrogen bases, and then they have a phosphate radical. Okay, so the three things which I told you, that makes one nucleotide. What are they? A sugar, pentose sugar. It can be in case of DNA deoxyribose sugar, in case of RNA it is ribose sugar. Along with that it has nitrogen bases, along with that it has phosphate radical. Now regarding this nitrogen bases, the nitrogen bases in DNA and RNA are again further divided or classified into two forms, or broadly divided into two types. One is called purines and another one is called as your pyrimidines. Okay, now purines are the dicyclic compounds. Okay, these are the nitrogen bases which are dicyclic. That means two cycles are associated, two ring structures are associated with each other. And what are they? Adenine and guanine. Okay, so these are the two purine bases found in case of your DNA as well as in case of your RNA. Now regarding the pyrimidine, now the pyrimidine are monocyclic. That means they are cyclic compounds, but there is one single cycle. In case of DNA, it is thymine and another one is your cytosine. Understood? Whereas if you talk about RNA, the thymine is replaced by another nitrogen base which is called as your uracil. So in total, if we want to know how many purines are there or how many pyrimidines are there, so purines are two, that is adenine and guanine. We represent it with capital A and capital G. Okay, and regarding the pyrimidine, pyrimidine is of three types. What are they? That is your cytosine, uracil, and that is of your thiamine. Okay, so these are the three types of pyrimidids. Uracil is found only in RNA. Uracil is not found in case of DNA. In DNA, it is your thiamine and cytosine. These are the two pyrimidids. In case of your RNA, it is uracil and that of your cytosine. So these are the two pyrimidids in case of your RNA. Now, when these three units, that is the nitrogen base, pentose sugar and phosphate radical, they associate with each other, we call this unit to be nucleotide. When we remove the phosphate radical from that of the nitrogen base and the pentose sugar, then it will be called as your nucleoside. Understood? So nucleotide and nucleoside, one basic difference is there. When phosphate is added to nucleoside, then it becomes nucleotide. Otherwise, it is nucleoside. Okay. So when such repeated units of nucleotides are polymerized and it is a polynucleotide chain, then we call that chain to be a DNA chain. Okay, so the DNA is made up of what? The DNA is made up of the repeated units of nucleotides. Nucleotides is made up of what? It is made up of three things, that is pentose sugar, phosphate radical, and that of the nitrogen base. Up to this much, is it clear? Okay. The next thing which we should be knowing is that the DNA is the genetic material which is found in most of the eukaryotic organisms, as I told you, and RNA is also genetic material in case of some organisms like the viruses or the viridoids, but the RNA has also different functions other than being a genetic material. It acts as an adapter molecule. Okay, sometimes it has catalytic function. So RNA, other than the DNA, that is the DNA being only the genetic material, RNA besides being a genetic material has some other functions as well to perform. Now to know that how this DNA is actually found or is packed up rather in the chromosome, that is also very essential to know for us. This DNA is a thread-like structure. It is a double helical model, and this model was proposed by that of your Watson and Crick in 1953, for which they got the Nobel also. And this double helix of the DNA, this polypeptide chain, the single, if we consider a single strand of the DNA, the single strand of the DNA, one strand is of the polarity 5' to 3'. Now what is this 5' and 3'? You should also know that the sugar, that is a pentose sugar, if we consider the position of the carbon, in the 3' carbon there is a hydroxyl group with which the phosphate group of the other that is nucleotide unit will be making a diester bond. Okay, it will be making a phosphodiester bond. So since a single nucleotide is having one 3' hydroxyl group, as well as if you consider the pentose sugar, so in the pentose sugar 5th carbon is also there, so that 5th carbon is also having one hydroxyl group. So with that also there will be an association of the phosphate. So phosphate is associated with one sugar, pentose sugar 3' hydroxyl group, and another pentose sugar's 5' hydroxyl group, and there is a glycosidic linkage, N-glycosidic linkage with that of your that is the nitrogen base. So this way they are repeatedly associated with each other. So the backbone is made up of sugar and phosphate, and the association between the two chains of the DNA is made by the hydrogen bonding between the nitrogen bases. So hydrogen bond is a weak bond. That is the reason also why the DNA thread can be separated apart by the help of certain enzymes which will be degrading the bonds between the two DNA chains, so that when the replication can take place easily, the parental strand can be replicated. It can be acting as a template. Template means on which the new strand will be formed. So when these new strands will be formed, then one parental strand will get associated with the newly formed daughter strand, and another parental strand will also get associated with the daughter strand. So this type of formation of the DNA, or the replication of the DNA, is known as your semi-conservative method of replication. Why semi-conservative? Half. That means original one strand is there, parental strand, and a newly formed daughter strand is also associated. So this is also kind of property of the DNA, that it replicates semi-conservatively. So that is about the DNA's replication. Of course, we will be coming to the next part of the chapters, in which we will be knowing that how does the replication takes place, or what is the advantage of replication, or why replication is required. Basically, it is required because to express the characteristic, the DNA at first will copy itself. So copying is replication, and after copying, then it will be producing an mRNA. That means, since it cannot, DNA is made up of nucleic acid. Nucleic acid cannot make its expression in an organism. For its expression, it has to be converted into protein, and for making into protein, at first it has to come from the DNA to the RNA form, which is the messenger RNA, and then with the help of the tRNA, that is the adapter molecule. As I told you, that RNA are of various forms, so that tRNA, that is transfer RNA, will bring up the amino acids present according to the codon which is expressed in the mRNA, and then a polypeptide chain will be formed. And now this polypeptide chain can be either an enzyme or it can be an hormone, and depending upon that, the phenotypic character of the organism will be affected. So that is how the gene makes its expression. So the information is in the form of nucleic acid, but the expression is in the form of protein. So that's why so many steps are required, and that is the reason why we are reading this chapter of molecular basis of inheritance. Now, as I was telling you that how the DNA is packed, actually, if we see the DNA is a long thread, and it is so huge that it needs enormous packing inside the the chromosome, which in turn is packed up inside the nucleus. The nucleus is a dotted structure. We can hardly see it when we color it under the microscope, just like a dot. And within that dot, so much, almost more than 2 meters long, this thread of the DNA which is there, it has to be winded up. Now, how it is winded up? The way it is winded up is that, see, it is it's a thread which is to be winding, because DNA, at first we should know that DNA is negatively charged. So since it is having the negative charge in it, so definitely it should be associated with the positive charge, so that the binding is compact. Now the positive charge is brought about by certain histone proteins found in the nucleus. Now these histone proteins are positively charged. They are basically made up of the amino acids which are basic in nature, like the lysine and the arginine. Okay, so mostly the histone proteins which are rich in lysine and arginine, they form a structure which is called as octamer. Now what is this octamer? It is ball like structure. So it is made up of total of 4 histone proteins which are in the form of tires, 4 in the base and 4 at the top. So total 8 histone proteins. Now around these histone proteins, the DNA now winds up. Now how many turn the DNA winds up is 1/3/4. Okay, 1/3/4 times it winds around the histone protein, that is the octamer. And then there is another histone protein which is called as your H1 protein. So there are actually 5 histone proteins: H1, H2A, H2B, H3 and H4. So if you release H1, then we have H2A, H2B, H3 and H4. So this 4, 4, 8, it forms an octamer. DNA winds around it 1/3/4 times, and then when it comes to one end, then it has to be fixed with that octamer or that ball. So it is fixed by the help of that clip. Now this clip is nothing but the H1 histone protein. So now this unit of the DNA getting winded around 1/3/4 times along with the histone octamer, the single unit is called as your nucleosomes. And there are several nucleosomes within the chromatin threads, and between two nucleosomes there is a linker DNA also. Okay, if we count the number of base pairs of this linker DNA, it is coming 60 base pairs, and if you count the number of turns of the DNA found around this histone octamer, that is 146 base pairs. So total of 200 base pairs of DNA is being packed between the two nucleosomes, and this, if we observe it under the electron microscope, it appears to be bead on string like structure. That means like a necklace having beads with string, beads with string, beads with string. So that is how it is made up of. And then of course there will be, when the cell is in its divisional stage, that is mitosis stage, that time what will happen is that then dehydration reaction will take place, water will be eliminated, more coiling and supercoiling of this chromatin threads will take place, which will be forming a solenoid structure, a super solenoid structure, and finally it will result into that rod like structure which we call it as chromosomes. And then the chromosomes will be dividing, and then when the pulling of the chromosomes will take place during the anaphase stage, it will be pulled apart to the two poles. Gametes will be produced. When the gametes will be fertilizing, an organism will be produced, and the expression of the gene will take place in the organism. So this is how the inside the nucleus that is the DNA is packed up, and then after packing it up, it forms a chromosome. So the journey starts with DNA winding around the histone octamer, forming the nucleosome, nucleosomes coming closer with each other, getting associated, more getting condensed, and finally it forms the chromosome. So this is the journey of formation of the chromosome from the DNA till the chromosome, all the stages which I have discussed today. The next thing which we should be discussing about the salient features of this DNA helix. As I told you, it is a double-stranded structure. It is helical, and it has two anti-parallel strands. One is in the direction 5' to 3', and another one in the direction 3' to 5'. Okay, and there is hydrogen bonding between the two anti-parallel strands that makes them associated with each other. And there are different types of DNA. Of course, the DNA which we are going to study is the bDNA, having the 10 base pairs per turn. So there are different types of DNA. zDNA is there, which is a left-handed helix. The bDNA is a right-handed helix. Similarly, there is aDNA also, which is having 12 base pairs. So this differs from one DNA to another DNA, but basically here, since we are going to read about bDNA, so we have to understand that a bDNA is having 10 base pair per turn. Okay, so there is a turn every time. There is a groove. There's a minor groove and a major groove. So that makes the DNA coiled, and that is the each turn when it starts coiling and it again comes back, returns back in one turn. So in complete one turn there are 10 base pairs, and the distance between each base pair is your 0.34 nanometer. And also always adenine will pair with that of the thymine in case of DNA, and guanine will pair with that of the cytosine. Guanine and cytosine with 3 hydrogen bonds between them, and adenine and thymine with double hydrogen bond. There was a scientist, his name was called Chargaff. He told something interesting about the purines and the pyrimidines. He said what is the total number of adenine will be always equal to the total number of thymine. Similarly, what is the total number of guanine will be always equals to total number of cytosine. And from this he said that the total number of purines and the total number of pyrimidines in a DNA will be always equal. So this is known as your Chargaff's rule, which also you have to know about it. Besides the DNA having that is your histone protein, there are certain non-histone protein also associated with that of the DNA. So this is about the various salient features of the genetic material called the DNA. DNA cannot directly express itself. To express itself, gene expression is to be done only depending upon one strand. So at first the DNA has to be replicated first, then the DNA has to be transcribed in the form of mRNA, and then from the mRNA the synthesis of protein, that is translation of the mRNA, will take place, resulting to formation of polypeptide, and then the expression of the gene can take place. Okay, so that's all for today's class. We will be taking upon in our next class the next topic to follow, that is how the genetic material was proved that DNA is the genetic material. Also, we are going to read about one more important thing, is that which is the best genetic material, DNA or RNA. So that's all for